The East Baton Rouge Parish Library believes that a thriving business community is good for us all. That's why we help entrepreneurs start businesses with tools like Gale Business Builder. Keep commerce rolling by providing access to computers, printers, and free Wi-Fi at 14 branch locations. Get a library card. Grow your business at ebrpl.com/business.
Started making beer at home and immediately fell in love with it. After like the day of my first batch of brewing, I was already thinking, can I do this for a living?
Oh yeah, obsessed with it. He was totally consumed by it, and then looked at me one day and told me I was put on this earth to brew beer. And I was like, wow, that is such a bold statement. And if you can say that about anything, then you need to follow your dream and do it.
Good morning and welcome to Strictly Business. I'm your host, Penny Font. This webcast features conversations with Louisiana's most influential CEOs, entrepreneurs, and community leaders, with the goal of providing insights, ideas, and inspiration to help you and your business grow. We want to keep Strictly Business as interactive as possible. So for those joining us live, here's an icebreaker question for you. Submit your vote in the comments, and the results will be posted at the end of the webcast. Strictly Business is brought to you by the East Baton Rouge Parish Library and Home Bank. Without their support, this project would not be possible. This month, we're talking with Stephen Toups, CEO of Turner Industries Group. He has been with the National Industrial Contracting Company for 27 years, serving in many capacities. The LSU graduate was recognized by the Associated Builders and Contractors as the Construction Leader of the Year and named one of the top 10 breakout technology leaders in the nation by the Global CIO Summit. Turner Industries this year earned the top spot on the LSU Roaring 20 list, which recognizes the 20 highest revenue-generating LSU graduate-owned or graduate-led businesses from all those that apply for the LSU 100 each year. Stephen, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning, Penny, and to Team Business Report.
Few sectors are experiencing as much change as heavy industry and industrial construction. Digital transformation, AI offsite modularization, navigating renewable energy, just to name a few. How would you characterize the impact on the broader workforce right now?
That's a great question, Penny. You know, the impact on the broader workforce, I think the impact is crazy because it's constant. It's constant. People have got to get used to this, and you hit two good ones, the impact of modularization. Look, modularization is taking construction and doing it at one spot that is set up for, in our case, industrial construction. All the people are there, all the crafts are there, they're used to coming, they know where they are. You can control productivity, you can control safety, you can control efficiency, and so it works very, very well. In the case of maybe building a plant in Indiana, you can build it down here, you can build it in Texas, modular in big boxes, put it in barges, ship it up there and put it together during the warm months. It's genius. A lot of this industry has been doing it for a long time, but now it has become very, very much in vogue. Another one you hit was digital transformation. It's kind of like the other end of the spectrum, right? I mean, the digital transformation projects fail for a myriad of reasons. But you think about the expectations that we've set in the marketplace, whether it's industrial construction or fast food or anything we do, is this 24/7, 365 customer experience. And any transformation, just by its very nature, requires an interruption of the business flow. So you got to manage that to some degree. Everything's got to link it up. The communication is imperative. You've got to communicate with your customers, let them know what's going on. In the case of what the digital transformation may be, let them know what's happening on the backside. But if your customers are concerned, that back pressure is going to be felt by your employees. And so we want to make sure they understand where the disconnects may be, where the flow may be disrupted. But those are two really good ones you hit right there.
Thank you for the look into that. That's interesting. In your experience, what are some common pitfalls leaders should avoid when leading through change?
Another great question. This whole topic on change, uh, you know, I have a theory. I'm sure I heard it someplace, so I can't say I authored it, but good change or bad change creates the same amount of stress. I think when you're going through some element of change, it creates stress. Your question about common pitfalls, Penny, two come to mind. One is sometimes people start out on the path with good intentions. We're going to change. This is going to be better. We're going to get X, Y, Z from it. But you haven't allocated the right level, or you've got a lack of resources, whether it's money or funding or time or hours or expectation of what the time may yield. I joke sometimes that a project, if it appears like there's going to be a lot of change and maybe a lot of chaos associated with it, that you just go ahead and multiply the number of resources and the time by pi and just assume that's what the new number is going to be. So that's the biggie to me, lack of resources. The other is not involving people. Sometimes managers think, well, I can do that change. That's not a big deal. I can make that happen. I can make that switch. And if you don't involve people, and again, it's communicating again. If you don't involve people, I think you may have a recipe for a disconnect there or lack of success.
So true, and really in any organization. Also, change often brings resistance and uncertainty by nature. How do you address and manage resistance within your organization?
Resistance. So just like I said, good change and bad change creates the same amount of stress. I think if you know that going in, you're 2 steps ahead of the operation. You're 2 steps ahead of the monster. Here's my opinion. If you can share the vision, if you can show that there are opportunities for advancement, that what people are going to get, the growing skills, the development, I think it's important to create a clear goal that people can envision. I also think it's very important to ask for feedback. How will that impact us? How will that impact you? How will that impact your team? And in some cases, Penny, it's very important to remind people, we've done this before. We've done a change like this before, and give them an example, give them a story. Hey, remember we did this. We didn't think we could, but now looking back on it, hey, we survived. We survived at the back end. So sometimes telling a story about change, reminding people, hey, we've been through this. We've done this before. I think that goes a long way to battling resistance. People aren't resistant to change just to be mean and ugly. I think people get resistant to change because they know it's going to upset, like we said, their flow, their process. So I think again, my opinion, if we can explain it on the front end, create a vision that we can share together of what the benefit is on the back end, it's a whole lot easier to slog through the change to get there.
Very true. Can you share a specific example from your career when you had to lead your organization through a significant period of change? And what were the key challenges you faced?
Well, come on, that's an easy one, right? COVID. As it
Good
turns
point.
out, yeah. As it turns out. So look, Turner Industries has been around a long time. So we've been 60 plus years, and we've got a tremendous bunch of leaders here who've seen just about everything that can happen in the business world. So it's a great team to lean on each other. But as it turns out, nobody here has ever been through a global pandemic. So no one has ever seen oil go to negative $37 a barrel. What was happening in our business was, I guess unparalleled. But beyond unparalleled, it was just plain weird. I mean, we got to a point, we didn't know what was going to happen. Penny, we're in the people business. What we do is we put trained craft professionals and leaders at our clients' sites. When you're in a global pandemic and your job is to put humans at somebody else's site, you're putting humans at somebody else's site. Humans are what get COVID. So we didn't know exactly where this was going. I'm going to go back to my last answer. Increased communication was paramount. An open explanation of what was happening, be very fair. And as leaders, we had to understand if we were expecting our people to go to work, that we had to be there with them. I had somebody from the business board asked me a question about, will Turner be working from home? How will this impact your job flow? How will this impact what you do? I thought about it for a minute. I was like, you can't weld remotely. It's very difficult to build something remotely. So no, we can't. And we were very fortunate that the sites where we work had the resources and the real estate to be 6 feet apart, work in small teams, have masks on, protect each other, had the resources to clean. And again, a lot of our work is, we're covered. We wear fireproof overalls, we wear gloves, we wear a helmet, we wear masks. So there's an element of a lot of pieces of COVID we were protected from. We were very, very fortunate. While we didn't know what was going on, tell you a great story. COVID came mid-March. By the end of April, we didn't know exactly where this thing was going. What's going to happen? How's this going to unfold? I remember actually sitting down, asking our leadership team, the question is, how do you shut down Turner Industries? What point do you know when to shut it down? When do you stop? I mean, what we were facing, every business was facing the same challenges. We were all facing it together. And as you meet different leaders in the community, and you realize, okay, everybody's doing this, we're going through it together. So there's my one. We've got this shared goal is to get through it. The other is try and envision. It was difficult at that point to envision a world without it, but we envisioned coming out of it, what coming out of it would look like. We envisioned a way to keep our people safe. Yeah, we saw the oil go to crazy. We saw a nation that began wanting to transfer to a new sustainable type of energy flow. So everything was happening around us. We kept our cool, we increased communication, and I think the most important thing was a very open explanation of where we were, what we were doing. Myself, we were at the gate at 5 a.m., greeting people, welcoming them to job sites, telling them we're going to do everything we can to keep them safe. Best story, no incidents of COVID cropping up at any of our job sites. So that worked out well. We had people get sick at a crawfish boil on Sunday, come to work sick and had to send them back, but we didn't have mass COVID breakouts at our job sites. I think that was a real tribute to the people of our industry who allowed that to happen. So COVID would be my answer for that one.
Definitely a success story. Thank you for sharing some insights into that. It was very interesting. What strategies have you found most effective in communicating change? You talked about the importance of communication. What strategies have you found most effective in communicating change to your employees and stakeholders to ensure buy-in and alignment with your vision?
Okay, I'll talk about strategies for communication, and the opportunities for buy-in. I have no KPIs on that, but I'll tell you what I do know. About 12 months ago, so you obviously at this point have figured out, everybody who's on this has figured out, okay, Stevie loves communication. I think that's the key to everything. I just was raised in a family where if you experience conflict and you could get across the table from somebody, that there was a way to achieve compromise. There was a way to meet in the middle. There was a way to resolve through that. So I've taken that with me all through my professional career, communication. A strategy to do that is one we kind of, I don't think we did anything wonderful, but I'll tell you what happened. Look, we decided there was a lot of things happening very, very fast. Not only was COVID happening, the world was happening. You had the Ukraine war, you had the economy in a tailspin. But at the same time, we were changing new leadership. We had some leadership here was retiring, moving on. And we had new leaders coming in. So we had a lot to explain to people very, very fast. I don't know that the new generation of the world or how we're working today yields itself to people reading 3-page memos about what's happening. So here's what we did. I grabbed the head of marketing for our company, Jason Broha. I said, hey, Jason, let's go shoot a video with my phone. What are we going to talk about? I said, I don't know. I said, we can talk about anything I want to talk about. So Penny, we started doing a short 1-minute video. My commitment to the Turner employees is it's unscripted, unedited. what happens, happens. And so we began talking about things that were going on in the company. We began talking about things that were going on in the industry. I had the ability I was visiting our job sites all across the nation. I would take the phone with me. I would do a video. I'd say, this is who I'm here with. This is the job site we're at. But it enabled me to get a message out that we're here, we're open for business, and we're going to come out the backside of this thing. At the same time, I was able to talk about change. And like I said, envision a clear goal. We were able to get a clear goal to everybody. Everyone was able to watch this video. My other commitment is no passwords, no firewalls. Anybody who wants to see it can see it. It's on our website. Go look at the video section. You can go look at all these crazy things. But when I'm doing my video, and I think the November one, the one last month, I was talking about November. I was talking about Armistice Day and what it meant. It became Veterans Day. And there was a bird chirping someplace. And it's just going to town. And little suckers just singing a song, singing a song, singing a song. And finally, I just said, "Oh, the bird won't shut up." Well, that was still in my video. But I think my commitment has got to be clear, transparent. And in that case, to edit something like that out is unfair. I want our employees to see exactly what we're experiencing, what we're feeling. I want them to know that when we say something, it's the truth. And so that's what we did. So I'm not exactly an influencer. I'm not exactly a social media guru, but we are doing these videos. And Penny, that has been a wonderful way to increase communications, get that vision out there, get the strategy out there, and an open explanation of what's happening. So I don't know if that's a fantastic strategy. It's one that's been working for us for now.
I love that, unscripted and very authentic. I can see why that would be so effective. How do you balance the need for innovation and adaptation with the stability and core values of your organization during times of change?
It's a great question. And innovation is a good one. I'll tell you our strategy around innovation. Innovation just for innovation's sake, or technology just for technology's sake, is almost like pushing a rope uphill in some instances. Hey, this is a really great thing. We need this. We have chosen, and we started doing this probably 8 or 10 years ago, to flip the script. We're letting our field execution and operations teams ask us, what do you need? What do I need? This is what I want. And it's much more of a pull technology. They need to pull or ask for that innovation, ask for that solution, and then we're driving with it. Whether it's taking tablets and putting them in the field, so you're freeing up leaders to be at the front lines, talking to their people, being safe, watching what's happening. We've been very fortunate over the last 10 years. We have been recognized a number of times. Information Week top 500 innovative users, CIO 100 recognition 3 times, Construct Tech Award 5 times. These are national technology and innovation awards that little old Turner Industries in Baton Rouge, Louisiana has won because we've flipped the script. We've let operations in the field say, hey, this is what we need, because adoption is rapid. People are open to it. It's not change. It's a solution that they've asked for. So I guess that is change, but we have flipped the script on it just a little bit, just ever so much, to say, this is the solution you need. And at that point, people want it. And if someone hasn't thought of it, but the site next to them is using it, they realize, wow, this is really good. This works like a champ. So that would be what I would say that we've done. We've tried to flip the script, and rather than push technology or push innovation, be open to the fact that innovation is out there. We need innovation, but at the same time, we're going to allow our operating teams, our field leadership to pull for that.
That makes so much sense. And congratulations on those honors. Very
thanks.
Impressive. What role does leadership agility play in successfully navigating change, and how do you cultivate it within your own leadership team?
Okay, that's an easy short answer. Rudyard Kipling wrote years and years ago that the definition of leadership is keeping your cool when everyone else around you is losing theirs. And if we can subscribe to that and embrace that, then that drives your leadership agility. We try and demonstrate that, or how do you cultivate it within your leadership team? We have a class now that has been going on, I'm going to get this wrong, Penny, but I think 17 years, called The Voice of Leadership. And we identify each year 20 or 25 individuals in each regional office throughout the nation, and they go through a Voice of Leadership class. They can be at any role in the company whatsoever, any position, anywhere, any position in the ranks of the operation. If their manager thinks, hey, they're a promising young person or a promising leader, they can go into this class. And we try and drive that leadership is true influence. Leadership is the ability not to be the boss and force people to lead you, but influence people to want to lead you because you're doing the right thing, or you're managing change and driving innovation, everything you've asked about so far. So we cultivate it through a Voice of Leadership class. We've got 17 years of graduates. I think we do it at like 5 or 6 different offices. It's a tremendous, tremendous alumni base. I guess the highest compliment or KPI or key performance indicator for the success of that is we've had a whole bunch of graduates of that program hired by our customers. Well, normally you'd think that's a bad idea. It's okay. It's not bad. It's a compliment that our customers have taken those. We have so many of those young men and women that have grown through that program have been promoted into different divisions and different departments. So it's an exciting, cultivating that leadership is fun. True leadership is having everyone understand, keep your cool while everybody else around you is losing theirs.
Yeah, that development is so important. Thank you for sharing that. How do you assess and mitigate the potential risks associated with major changes in your industry or organization?
So if it was an MBA class, the answer would be, avoid, reduce, transfer, accept. We look at it so we do work in these industrial facilities. Part of what we do is called a turnaround. This is where a large manufacturing facility is going to shut down a unit and have it worked on for a period of time, maybe 3 days, maybe 3 months, but it's a 24/7 operation. At that point, you go in and you try and, exactly what you asked, mitigate the potential risks. Well, the way you do that is you first identify them. And then you say, hey, we're going to avoid these suckers at all costs. This is not what we want to have. If we can't avoid it, can we reduce it? If we can reduce the risk or the exposure or transfer it away somehow. And it may be as simple as, okay, if someone gets hurt, let's bring the first aid trailers right up to the border of the job. We don't want people walking all over the plant. Let's bring food here. Let's bring supplies here. So you bring everything to this job site. And the end game is, what happens is there's a level of risk you can't mitigate. You can identify, but then finally the fourth step, Penny, is you got to accept it. And when you accept the risk, it's a decision that we make as a leadership team. It's a decision we make with the professionals that guide us, our insurance professionals, our accounting professionals, our legal professionals. But I think we've done what we can to reduce it. We've tried to avoid the bad stuff. We've transferred off what we can. But we're in the job of managing risk. That's what we do. So we're okay with that. But a great way you worded that, mitigating the potential risk. Yeah, we try to identify when we can get rid of it or manage what we can. Absolutely.
You touched on this early on, but I want to see if you have any other best practices that you want to share for creating a change-ready culture within your organization.
Change-ready culture. Okay, well, look, we talked about communication, right? We talked about engaging people, making sure you have the right resources. I think somebody else said this, Penny, I didn't say it, but culture is a force multiplier for any organization, but everybody's got to know what it is. You can use your videos to get it out, but we've been getting it out for a long, long time. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. That's my favorite, right? You can have the best strategy in the world, but if the culture doesn't allow it to happen, it doesn't allow itself to be a force multiplier, it's dead. we know what our culture is. We know that you can have an innovative culture, creative culture, or even a toxic culture. It tends to come from above. It comes from your leadership. Everything you've been talking about, leadership, communication, everything drives to this question around culture. If you stop a Turner employee, Penny, and ask them what ROI stands for in this company, they'll tell you it's return on integrity. They'll tell you that what we know, what we want our prime directive to be. I'm a Star Trek fan, so we know what our prime directive needs to be is that we are the front line. Everybody we talk to is a customer. We want to work for everybody. So we have to understand that our behavior, every question we answer, the very integrity by which how we approach things. I tell people sometimes, assess whether you would do it that way in front of your grandmother. Let me tell you, if you'll do something in front of your grandmother, you're acting in the highest level of integrity possible. So that's what we want. We want people to do the right thing. We ask for it a little bit different way. They understand that culture. We support it through leadership. That's what the culture, we use that as a force multiplier to get some of these things out. A powerful, empowering culture where people can succeed, where people can grow, is the surest, safest route to organizational success. That sounds kind of very like an MBA chapter in some management book, but it really, really is applicable. If you can drive a good culture, understand what it can do to your strategy, you understand how it can impact your strategy, be ready for it. It can truly be a good force multiplier. So creating a change-ready culture, I think people they understand, hey, it doesn't bother Stevie, and it doesn't bother David, and it doesn't bother Rick, and it doesn't bother. I think as you begin to go through the ranks and everyone says, hey, we'll get through this together. So that's probably the best way to answer that one.
I love that prime directive, and I can tell you live that. You're very passionate about it. One last question for
Sure.
you. We talked about COVID, but can you describe maybe another time when you had to make a tough decision during a period of change? How did you approach it, and what did you learn from the experience?
Okay, we're a contractor. The very nature of what we do is solving problems every day inside other people's facilities. So I'll think of an example in a second, but let me tell you how we approach one. We try and encourage the team that we can get through this. Obviously, you open lines of communication. That's my number one deal. Start talking about what happens. But I think the key is, and you asked, what did we learn from the experience, is you've got to streamline the process. It's not about if you have a problem, that's okay. It's about, did you have the same problem tomorrow? And did you have the same problem on Friday? If you had the same problem 3 times, you didn't learn anything from it. Problems or challenges or speed bumps or opportunities in disguise, whatever you want to call it, Penny, is an opportunity to learn and make yourself better. What is it, like steel sharpens steel or whatever it is? But it's the ability. You have to look at these tough decisions as an opportunity to get better and make yourself better for the next time. So yeah, COVID was one. Golly, you run across them all the time. Like I said, the moral decisions, the integrity decisions, how you handle this, how you handle that, those you face every day, and everybody faces those too. COVID and the economy is something you battle all the time. People ask, what's the number one thing that keeps you awake at night? There's about 6 things that keep you awake at night. And it's these challenges you face. Who would have thought oil would have gone to negative $37? Who would have thought a change? Here's another one. This is not a problem, but this is a period of change, like you asked, is we just transitioned the company and 4,000 users from Microsoft to Google. That is a massive shift. It's a massive shift in expectation. It's a massive shift in how they work every day. And they have to know it's okay. We can get through it. We'll build a schedule. Humans love a plan, and we'll get through it. At the end of the day, at the very, very, very end of the day, what do you learn from it? What did we learn from that? High tech is okay, but it requires high touch. We've still got to see our customers. We've still got to talk to our customers. You still have to talk to your people. You have people working remote. Look, at working remote's not bad for some people. And we have a lot of people working remote. But you have to make sure that utilizing that technology, they feel like they're part of the team. Don't lose sight of the objective. We had an Air Force general come in and speak to us the other day. You can obviously wrap up with this if you want to, but if you lose sight of the enemy, if you lose the objective, you lose the fight. And his goal for us was, watch that objective. What is your true north? Where do you want to be? Somebody asked me years ago, they said, write your obituary. I'm like, what? Write my obituary? Penny, the question was, begin with the end in mind. Where do you want to be? Well, I don't want to be, it's not the goal. No offense. It's not to be number one on the top 100 for the business report. I want to be a good dad, a good friend, and a good husband. Everything else will follow. And if we can begin to transfer that to all of our people, what's your objective? Turner Industries is a way for people to do what they want to do for their families, to put food on the table, buy boats, buy vacations, and have a great time and have a great life and create a community around themselves. If we can do that, then we've learned from the experience and we got it. So I hope that answers that question for you.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but it has been a great conversation with you. Thank you so much for making the time to join us today. We really appreciate it. Lots of good insights.
Penny, I appreciate the opportunity, and I hope that one person gets something from this that makes their day better. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody. Blessings to all, and have a great new year.
Absolutely. You too. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
And thanks also to our viewers for joining us today, as well as our sponsors, the East Baton Rouge Parish Library and Home Bank. We wish everyone a happy holiday season and a wonderful new year.